I just got back from an incredible vacation in the beautiful, beautiful state, which it's amazing when you go to Hawaii and you realize that you're still in a state. You're still in America. You feel like you are in a foreign land and I mean that in the most amazing way. It's just so unbelievable that Hawaii is a part of the United States, but given its tropical setting, its gorgeous sunsets, its perfect weather, it is just such a fantastic place. There is one thing, though, that it really got me thinking about while I was there, and this is going to sound so high maintenance, and it's going to sound so first world, because it is, but just go with me here for a moment. So Jimlin and I were there for our 5-year anniversary. It was the trip of, not a trip of a lifetime. We did the trip of a lifetime last year. That was a trip to Europe that was just 2 of the most amazing weeks of my life. And it was incredible. But this was supposed to be like just really chill, very beautiful. And we went to this place that is owned by Auberge Resorts, which is one of mine and Jimlin's favorite property companies. Usually, anytime you go to an Auberge Resort, they are absolutely top notch. They're stellar. The service is impeccable. It's crazy good. It's awesome. And so we decided, I decided this was a surprise trip on her part, which is probably why I'm a little more sensitive to this, is the fact that I chose this resort specifically because it was an Auberge property. I know nothing about Hawaii. And I didn't know the difference between Maui, Honolulu, Kona. I didn't care. What I did was I went to Auberge Resorts and I saw that they had a property, which was the Mauna Lani in Kona. And so I was like, that's where we're going. Our first trip to Hawaii is going to be there because that's where Auberge has resort. And I got to tell you, all in all, great trip. I'm not going to complain about the trip. You just don't complain about a trip to freaking Hawaii. I get that. However, whenever you save up, you work, first of all, when you work really hard, you make some good decisions and you're able to compile the resources that it takes to take a trip like that, like many of you have, or many of you are wanting to do, or many of you are trying to do, then there is, I don't take my money frivolously. I don't spend my money frivolously. I try to be very conservative. And so to take a trip like this was a very large investment in my relationship, which is always a worthwhile investment. And just let me say, it doesn't matter where Jimlin and I go. We're going to have a great time. We're going to have an amazing time because if she's there and I'm there, wherever we are, that is home for that moment, because where she goes and I go, that is home. And we are happy no matter where we are as long as we are together. That may sound sappy. It might make you want to throw up in your mouth, but deal with it. Swallow it down and hear me out. We get there and all in all, the trip was great, but I got to tell you this one story because here's the thing. A lot of you listening out there, and that's why the only reason why I'm telling you this is because a lot of you are not just entrepreneurs, which is a lot of what I talk about on this podcast, but a lot of you are in an entrepreneurship venture that is going to require you to provide service, good customer service. Now, if you know anything about mine and Jimlin's businesses, you know that one of them, which is her business, I play a supporting role. That is it. She is the headliner of Hot Tots, our retail store in Tyler, children's boutique, and it's higher end. It's not inexpensive children's clothing, and our clients expect a certain level of service whenever they come in. And my wife works tirelessly to make sure they receive that service. I mean, we're talking while we're on our trip to Hawaii, she's replying to texts to people who are wondering why they didn't get their $4 savings on a sell item. And she's responding. She's making sure they're taken care of. She's in communication with our girls that are back running the store while we're away. And she just always wants to make sure. And this is how Jimlin competes with the likes of Amazon. I mean, when you're a small little mom and pop, she's mom and pop, and we're trying to compete with Bezos, and his army, his freaking just absolute army, his global army to try to compete with him. It's tough. We're outnumbered. It's like the Spartans against the Persians, man. I mean, we're trying to defend the hot gates every single day. And so it takes a lot. And the secret sauce that makes Hot Tots what it is Jimlin Wright and the service that she provides and the service that our girls have learned to provide through my wife's leadership. So therefore, when I give you this take on this experience I had in Hawaii, it's not just this diva couple that go around thinking that we're entitled, and because we're spending a lot of money, we deserve something. That's not how Jimlin and I are. That's just not how we roll. In fact, if the Wrights show up at your resort, we even talked to the concierge before we got there a couple of weeks before we went. We said, look, you're going to love us because we are the most low maintenance, friendly, and understanding, being employers ourselves, being in the service industry ourselves, which is all hot tots. It looks like a retail boutique. It's a service industry. Okay. That's what separates Jimlin from the rest of the pack. We're like, you're going to love having the Wrights with you because we're going to go overboard to let you know when you've done a good job. If you do a crappy job, we're not going to beat you up. We're just not like that. It's just not who we are, and we're real. I remember one of my favorite stories is whenever we were in France at this chef's table experience, and we didn't know what was going on. It was weird for us. We'd never done the chef's table, and it was so above our pay grade that I finally just looked at the guy that was the head waiter that was kind of coordinating this deal, and I said, look, I just want to tell you something right now. We don't know what the hell we're doing. We're not chef's table kind of people. And of course, it was in France, and so he takes his job very seriously, which I really respect about the service industry in France in particular. I mean, you have waiters and wait staff that they are generational. That is their job, just like we have accountants and attorneys and whatever. I mean, it's just a different level there. And so this guy, he didn't crack a smile. He didn't really understand my humility. Again, French versus East Texas bumpkin kind of culture and personality came into full effect. But nevertheless, I say that just to say that Jimlin and I are not uppity people. It's just not who we are. And so when we go, we're like, we do want good service, that we want the service that we paid for. That's all we want. And this is what happened the first day at this resort when we're there. And the reason why I'm telling you this is a quick little lesson in customer service. That's what I'm just going to give. The only reason I'm telling you this is not to whine, it's not to complain, it's to explain to you out there, those of you who are entrepreneurs, or those of you who are intrapreneurs, you work for a big company, and the fact that you have the ability to face the customer, whether it's B2B or B2C, on an occasion, this is a little lesson in how to do it right versus how you probably shouldn't do it. So it's the first day on the beach. Okay, we've just traveled from Dallas, Texas, starting out at, I think our flight was somewhere around noon. And so and with the time change and everything, that's the cool thing about flying to Hawaii. You fly back in time, right? So we make up 5 hours on the way, and we get to the resort around 5:45, get to our room, change into our swimsuits. We still got some daylight left and some time before dinner, so we hit the beach. And we go down. Actually, this was like the first full day on the beach. So scratch that. Doesn't matter. Small detail, but I want to get it right. And so it's actually the next day after we had arrived. So it's our first full day on the beach. We go down and we go to the little shack where the beach attendant's there to make sure we know the lay of the land and how to get to our proper beach seat. And he's got the towel. So he grabs a towel and said, you guys go, I'll follow you. I said, okay. And I looked over, and there's one of these, they call them like a clamshell, which is like these 2 shade lounge chairs that are padded, and they have this big awning that you pull over it. And I said, what about that? And I didn't know that those were extra rentals. And he said, well, you know what? They actually rent those, but I don't care. You guys sit there. You guys go ahead, take it. So I'm like, well, that's so cool, man. I said, I want to take care of you for that, And he said, no. I said, no, dude. So you're on vacation. He said, no problem. And so he puts our towels down there. He puts up the shade, sit down. Fantastic. It's great. Jimlin actually wants to get some sun, so she moves out, and I'm in there by myself. And all of a sudden, and I can't see anything, right? Because I'm in this like awning thing, kind of like like on an old wagon train or whatever you call that thing. And so I'm like, I can't see anything. But around the front comes one of the attendants, not to ask me if I want anything to drink or place a food order, but to say, hey, these are for rental, right? These are, so basically informing me that you're supposed to rent these. And I said, well, the pool guy, or the beach guy, he sat me here. He said that it was okay that I sit here today. And she goes, okay, fine. So she leaves. All right, so then waves crashing, sun's beaming down. It's beautiful. And by the way, here's one of the things that makes Hawaii so awesome is the simple fact that The weather is perfect. It's like Southern California, but it's Hawaii. So it's perfect. You got the perfect weather without a lot of the crazy and a lot of the crowds, and just, it's awesome. So I'm just kind of chilling. I'm listening to the waves and not quite asleep. I'm not even taking a nap, but all of a sudden, about 30 minutes, I guess, after the first attendant left, here comes another one with this little sheet. Like, hey, so do you know how the rentals of the clamshells work? And I go, yeah, no, I understand how it works, but the first beach attendant put me here. And I said, but you know what? Never mind. I will leave. Obviously, this is a problem. And so he goes, oh, well, sorry. It's just these rent, they're $100 a day and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. And I'm not going to quote you what I'm paying to stay at this place. Okay. Because that would just seem, I just don't want to do that. But let me just explain to you, $100 versus what I'm spending to be at this place for an entire week is a drop in the sand bucket. Okay. And already, and by the way, all these people you would think communicate, you'd think that someone would have said, hey, they haven't paid for that. And another attendant would have said, I know, I'm comping it for them for the day. It's their first day on the beach. I comped it to them. That didn't happen. Instead, what they decided was, we're going to hound this guy until he gets up and leaves at a luxury resort. Okay. And so finally I get up and leave. And that is my first experience with this place, is that either you pay us $100 or go sit in one of the other lounge chairs, which was fine. I don't care. I never would have sat in that one. If he would have said, hey, when I asked it, what about those? If he would have said, yeah, those rent for $100, I would have said, yeah, okay, maybe for a day, maybe that's worth it. Or I would have made the decision, but don't give me something, which, by the way, that reminds me of a great story too. Okay, I'm going to digress for a minute because I got to tell you guys a story that was worthy of an episode of Seinfeld. You're going to love this one. So a number of years ago, back whenever I was in real estate full time, I'm looking at this piece of property for this guy that might want to sell. He's had beautiful, gorgeous tract of land out in Smith County that's just beautiful, and he's thinking about selling it. And we're going around, we're looking, and we're in the house part of it. We're in the garage, and he's got this mountain bike. And at the time, I wanted a mountain bike. I was shopping for a mountain bike. I said, oh man, I love your bike. And it was a Specialized stump jumper or whatever it's called. And I was like, that's what I'm looking for. And he goes, really? He said, well, you want that one? And I said, no. I said, I'm not going to take your bike. So, are you selling it? And he said, no. And here is what he said. I quote, he said, take it. And you ready for this? Be blessed. Well, let me tell you something. I am happy to be blessed, my friend. I was so excited. I was like, no, I can't take your bike. He said, no. He said, I never ride it. It just sits here. He said, be blessed. I'm like, well, I'll be blessed. And then folks, listen to this. And my buddy Jason Smith can probably attest to this because I know that I'm pretty sure that he and Tim Alexander, we were out riding one time at Tyler State Park. And every time I rode with someone that had not been with me before on this bike, I would tell them this story of being blessed. And this blessing, I would say, you know where I got this bike? And I would tell them the story about being blessed. Well, about a year and a half later, folks, I'm telling you, this is like an episode out of Seinfeld. A year and a half later, I get a phone call at my office. And it's the guy who had, I thought, blessed me with the bike. He wants his bike back. I was like, well, I didn't know what to say. I said, well, I'll pay you for the bike. He said, no. Went to the doctor. He said, I need some extra. I need to get that bike back. And I'm like, okay, sure, no problem. And so then I'm in this weird conundrum. This is literally like a Curb Your Enthusiasm Seinfeld episode. I'm like, did this guy think that he had just loaned me the bike to borrow? Did my blessing have an expiration date on it? Had I only been blessed for a certain period of time? Was he really saying, here, be blessed for a couple of weeks, be blessed for a week, a month? I don't know how long the blessing was for, or did he just think that I had taken his bike and he had loaned it to me and I'd never given it back, which made me feel like crap. But eventually I gave the bike back to him the day after he asked for it. I was like, oh, okay. It just felt so awkward. And then get this. This guy dies like a month later. The guy dies like a month after me giving I had a year and a half. He took the bike back. About a month later, the guy's gone. I don't know where the bike is. I hope somebody's being blessed by it, but it was the weirdest situation. So anyway, that has nothing to do with this story. But as it relates, let's go back to the beach. At this point, I'm like, if I'd had the opportunity, if I'd known if I'd known that, hey, you can rent this, I would have at least made the decision to say, yeah, sure, $100 charge to my room, or nah, I'm out. But this guy said, here, take the chair, no charge. Here's your chair. And then all of a sudden, after I'd been there and I'd been enjoying it, like I'd been enjoying the bike, I'm enjoying this lounge, the rules of engagement change. And this just left I'm like, this is so ridiculous. I can't believe this. $100. No one had the courtesy or the forethought to say, hey, I put him there, or you know what? He's already there. Let's do better tomorrow to make sure that no one sits in these chairs without paying, whatever the case may be. That was my first experience. So that is bad customer service. Okay, so that's my first taste. So in that moment, if you are a business owner and you have someone that little incident happens, don't sacrifice their TripAdvisor reviews, their report back to their travel consultant, the survey that you're going to probably send out. Don't risk all of that over what amounts to less than 1% of the total of the trip. I mean, just this tiny fraction of a trip, and you just piss somebody off. They just want to come to relax, and you're hounding them, and it made me feel like a deadbeat. It made me feel like a squatter, like I'd come and I was trying to break the rules, which again, I'm the most compliant. I don't color outside the lines. I never ask for extra. I mean, I'm afraid to ask for anything at a restaurant, or Jim and I are both like that. We don't want to put anybody out. So that was first time. And then get this. So another day, and so I'm just riled about this for quite a while, okay? And then one of the other days, we're on the beach, and it's kind of crowded. They had an event, like a wedding. Maybe there was 2 weddings going on at the resort that day, and so it was kind of hectic or whatever. I suppose they were short-staffed. And those of you who know, you go to a beach resort, there's always like an attendant that's coming by asking you, do you want anything to drink, whatever. I mean, that's how they're driving sales, baby. And so we had not seen anyone. We went out at like 9 a.m, and it was 1:45. And I think an attendant had come by maybe once early in, around 10 or something to ask if we want anything. No, we're good. And then we hadn't seen anybody for the rest of the time. Well, around 1:45, Mrs. Wright decides, let's get some lunch. Let's grab some lunch. And at this place, like the day before, they had this amazing, short ribs, like they cooked on a smoker outside out on the lawn. It was so amazing. And then today they had rolled out this huge wood fire oven for pizzas. They were making gourmet pizzas, wood fire oven out there on the beach, and that was awesome. So we're like, it's 1:45, it's a little late, but let's go grab a pizza. Let's eat some late lunch here. We go up there. Now, mind you, the oven is still there. There are still pizzas being made. We have not had an order. And by the way, no one had told us, there were no signs or anything that said, hey, last call for a pizza, or pizzas will only be served between, 11 and 1, nothing like that. We walk up and we say, hey, we'd like to order pizza. Sorry, we're closing it down for the day. We have to get ready for an event. And we're like, oh, okay. And they said, sorry, we stopped taking orders at 1:30 or 1 or 1:30. I'm not, and I just very calmly, I just processed that for a minute. I go, and I'm looking for a sign, and I know no one's made an announcement on the beach. So I'm like, how would we have known that? And they said, oh, well, someone should have gone to tell you. Your one of the attendants should have told you, but they're a little short-handed today, so maybe they didn't get a chance to. Okay. And they're still, and Jim said, well, so I see that you're still here. You can't take one more order? No, sorry, we can't. I'll have to talk to my manager. To which we just said, okay. And we went back to our chairs and never heard from anyone again. Until this very sweet pool attendant or beach attendant came out and said she was sorry. But again, you've got customers here that you would like to come back that are not asking for, they're not high maintenance. They're not asking for a lot. They're just asking if you will make them a pizza. I mean, again, They're on vacation. And by the way, they admitted, yeah, we're shorthanded. So you probably didn't know. No one got to you. And they said, yeah, sorry. We're not going to do anything to make up for it. We're just not. And the girl, the beach attendant, tried to come over and said, you know what? Y'all's, what you've ordered so far, which was like just a couple of sparkling waters, I think. She said, those are, it's on me because I didn't get back. And we're like, absolutely not. You are not going to take the blame for this because they've left you shorthanded. They've got 2 events going on. They're more concerned about getting ready for the events and taking care of all these people that are out here, these individual families on the beach. No, you're not covering that. And so we wouldn't let her do that. Here's the thing. Service is everything. And at this stage of the game in business, I don't care if you're a physician. I don't care if you're in retail. I don't care if you own a giant resort. I don't care if you own an auto mechanic shop. Right now, more than ever, when AI and more and more things are automating situations. And by the way, when people are becoming like, look, Jimla and I don't consider ourselves affluent or whatever. And again, everything's relative to somebody we are. We know that. But to somebody else, like, absolutely not. That's not the point. But more and more people are gaining the ability to do more and more things that otherwise just normal, average, everyday people couldn't do before. And with that being the case, with more doors and experiences being open to more people, there's only one thing you have that you can scale: trust and service. You see, a resort's a resort is a resort. It's Hawaii. It's Kona. It's the Kona coast. It's gorgeous. God has done his part. Okay? God has done his part. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. The most breathtaking sunset you will ever see in your life happen at this place. The weather is absolutely remarkable. Again, God has done his part. Now, if you are blessed enough and smart enough and you've made the right investment decisions to be able to invest in a resort on the Kona coast, now it's up to you to separate yourself from this little outfit right up the road known as the Four Seasons. Now, the Four Seasons, here's what the Four Seasons figured out back in 1960, I think, is whenever the Four Seasons was founded. They realized if we can offer service above and beyond anyone else, and we can train our employees, Disney gets all the credit for Disney U about putting all of their cast through this management program and how to enhance the experience at Disney, and they're well known for that, right? Well, Four Seasons also does this. In fact, one of the coolest things, I don't know if they still have this or not, but one of the most remarkable things that we learned in business school about the Four Seasons is they have a $500 rule. That is this: if you are a chambermaid, a waiter, the manager, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're one of those pool attendants, if you had been one of those pool attendants or the beach attendants in that deal with me, which it was $100 decision, right? Whether to lease me or to rent me the clamshell or not. If that had been the Four Seasons, every one of those people, they would have had the autonomy to make that decision, because at the Four Seasons, they give a $500 decision-making power to every single member of their staff. You can make a decision up to I think it's $500 a year maybe, without involving a manager or anyone. So if, let's say that a guest is really upset about something in their room, and to fix it is going to cost $500, $300, $150, a chambermaid can say, I will handle that. They have the decision power to say, I will handle it. Now, they also, they challenge them. They ask them to be good stewards with this, to say, look, you've only got $500 a year. Again, I'm pretty sure it's $500 a year. So once you're out, you're out. But they give them the autonomy to make those types of decisions all the way from the bottom to the top and in between. And let me explain something to you right now. I do have every intention of going back to Kona. Jimlin and I loved Kona. It is, and just so you know, just a little bit of a traveler's tip here. If you're trying to figure out where to go in Hawaii, because I know most people go to Maui or one of the other islands. As a matter of fact, I don't know that I had met anyone before we left that had gone to Kona. Here's what Kona is. Kona is laid back. It's chill. There are less than 300,000 people on what is known as the Big Island. So when you hear Big Island, don't be confused. That doesn't mean that it's like a big island with lots of people. It's not. It's a big island with not that many people, maybe 300,000 people. And if I'm not mistaken, on the Big Island, the reason why it's called the Big Island is because it has more landmass than all the other islands combined. And it is very chill, very laid back. You also have 11 microclimates on the entire island. So you can be in the lava desert 1 minute and drive a short distance and be up in the mountains and rainforest another. It's so cool. So you've got all these different climates. You can go up to the top of the mountains and the volcanoes where it gets down to 30 degrees. And then you can, that same afternoon, go sit on the beach where it's beautiful. It's 85 and sunny and gorgeous. I mean, it is so cool. And it's a place where, you know, this is the type of people that actually buy property on Kona. Michael Dell, Charles Schwab, Harrison Ford, Matthew McConaughey, these types of people, Rob Lowe, these are the type of people that have decided, you know what, I'm going to buy somewhere in Hawaii. I'm going to Kona. It is a phenomenal place, and the people are so awesome. They're so sweet, so kind. Our last cab driver, his name was AJ. There's this big place called Parker Ranch, and there's a cool story behind Parker Ranch. The Mr. Parker married one of the princesses of the queen that had received a huge land grant, I guess, years ago. This is in the 1800s, I think, of like 170,000 acres. And to this day, Parker Ranch is still in operation. It's now a part of a foundation that employs generations of people from this area. And AJ, our last cab driver on our way to the airport, he was a fourth generation resident of Parker Ranch, and his dad was a real life cowboy that had run that ranch. His father had run it, and his grandfather had run it, and maybe his great grandfather had run this portion of the Parker Ranch. So it's really cool. So you meet people that have these really deep roots to the area, and they love the fact that they are not a big, massive tourist destination where there's just constant traffic and things going on. Obviously, Honolulu is going to be, it's more of a big city. Kona is kind of like the countryside. And it was phenomenal. So I loved, we absolutely love that. So if you're ever thinking of going to Hawaii, I absolutely encourage you to go to Kona. But I would have to say that, and we went over for dinner at the Four Seasons one night, and just the immediate, first of all, just, I can't do anything about the layout of the place, but, the Mauna, which Mauna Lani is like a legendary hotel. Elvis stayed there. Bieber was there not too long. I mean, people like it. That's one of the things that's kind of like ticked us off. It's like, this is a 5-star resort. It is known as, again, the place where Elvis stayed out in Hawaii, and Elvis is kind of synonymous with Hawaii, right? And so we're like, this is supposed to be something that is on par with like the Four Seasons. And I can tell you, when we talk to locals there, they're like, here's the deal. Mauna Lani, they're going after the groups. They want conventions, corporate, weddings. And Four Seasons, while they have groups that come, it's much more of an intimate experience for the individual family. And obviously, whenever you have a couple like Jimlin and I celebrating our anniversary, you want that Four Seasons experience. But more than that, they could fix a lot of those things at Mauna Lani if they just focused on service. Now, I will say this, just to be fair to Alberge. Again, the reason why we went is because we love their properties. We went to Atero, I think this is what the property is called in Mexico that they have, which is outside of Puerto Vallarta. I believe that's where it was. Phenomenal. I mean, some of the most impeccable, incredible, over-the-top service and facilities that Jim and I had ever experienced. It is awesome. And so to be completely fair to the Alberge family of resorts, that property set the tone for us. It was so awesome. The service was, just over the top, so good. They did, like, kind of like when you hear people talk about service, it's like being able to think about what the customer wants before they even realize it. That's when you're on your game. That's what Four Seasons tries to do. Yeah, that's what they do in Mexico. Wasn't the case at Mauna Lani. And so I bring this rant to you today as kind of a reminder that if you are looking to truly set yourself apart. If you want to know the one thing that you can scale that, that nobody else, I mean, look, if you're not going to be able to think of a better idea, a better widget, if you're not going to be able to, find the silver bullet for this, or the secret sauce, there's one thing that you can always do. And that is outserve somebody, have better service. If you can do that, then you've got a shot at making yourself better than the other. Be the Four Seasons of your industry. Be the Four Seasons of your company. Be the Four Seasons of your family, wherever you are. Because at the end of the day, that might be the separator between you and everything else that's out there. So and again, none of this is to say that I didn't enjoy it. I don't consider myself incredibly blessed to have been able to go on such an incredible vacation. But I thought it was a great opportunity to bring to, as my first show back, to talk about customer service, talk about taking it to the next level. All right, I hope all of you are having an incredible spring. Summer's around the corner. Keep listening to The Jason Wright Show, where the mission is always to improve customer service, knowledge about business, and everything else, always and always. I'm Jason, and I'm out.